Okay, this is Critical Discussions, episode 18. And yeah, let's just get into it. The first news is that Jon Peterson is a bit of a moron. Nothing new really here, I guess, for a lot of people, probably. But yeah, we're starting with this one. Because despite the fact that he is doing some good things, like fighting cancel culture sort of in the West, in Canada, and just in general in the West, United States, things like that. He's absolutely brain dead in his sort of positions about Ukraine, about Russia, and basically all the things that he says, basically show that he doesn't understand that region whatsoever. He doesn't understand what he's talking about. He doesn't understand the culture. He doesn't understand the difference between Ukraine and Russia and where one state wants to go, what the other one is doing, and why you should never, ever kind of let Russia get away with this whole war. So he's done this. He's done this Piers Morgan interview back in September, actually, and things that he said basically didn't pan out whatsoever. So this is just a good reminder for people to, like, on aspects of like politics, especially like geopolitics, about like Russian war in Ukraine, things like that. Do not listen to Jon Peterson, because if he's a fucking moron who doesn't know anything he's talking about this particular topic, right? I will leave a good Euromaidan Press article in a description, but I will also like check these clips, just a few little sort of snippets that Jon Peterson has said that are completely stupid. Okay.
I just don't understand. I don't understand that. Well, what do you mean we're going that Ukraine is left in a smoking ruin? Oh, that's a victory. So here we are.
Yeah.
Assuming that we're facing an environmental, I think when Putin went into Ukraine, I thought
he was talking about the cold winter
with Ukraine in ruins. The Russians are going to lose somehow. Speak to that, but I do know that naive notions that the Russians are going to lose somehow.
First of all, this like naive notion that Russian will lose somehow. This man apparently doesn't know history whatsoever. USSR, the basically predecessor of Russia, the same imperialistic garbage state, lost in many fucking battles, many wars. They fucking lost before World War II. They lost to Finland, very small nation, just bordering Russia. They lost there a shit ton. That actually sparked sort of changes in the military in Russia before World War II. And that actually, some at least historians attribute that particular loss to Finland, to actual like huge losses in like manpower during World War II, because the actual sort of commanders in chief were not capable, really. Were not like good enough to actually fight against Germans effectively, and all they were doing is just throwing bodies at the problem, basically. So when Peterson says that Russia can't lose, it is so brain dead that you don't even need to go like 70 plus years before. Russians lost in Chechen wars, for example. Russians didn't do particularly good in Afghanistan, for example, right? Like, there's a lot of like fucking examples where Russians didn't do particularly well. And just saying that Russia can't lose, but because they have nuclear, so brain dead. And he actually said about it.
Because we wouldn't respond?
And he said about it that
he'll use a tactical battlefield weapon.
Even tactical nuclear weapon. Any like even vaguely, remotely sort of knowledgeable person who even like read like, I don't know, one paragraph on Wikipedia would know that tactical nuclear weapon on a battlefield will solve zero problems whatsoever for Russia. Zero. Yes, okay, you can kill simultaneously, whatever, let's say 1,000 people or something like that. It will not solve your problem whatsoever. You will, okay, maybe you choose to, I don't know, send like 5 of those bombs. Okay, you will kill like 5,000 people. That will not solve the problem whatsoever. And now you will put a really giant crosshair on your head from everybody, from across the whole world, because now you've used nuclear weapons on a battlefield, something that even China doesn't ever fucking talk about, and they're like, you know, doing these attempts of like recapturing Taiwan and things. Not doing these attempts, but at least like talking the big game, you know, that Taiwan is ours, and you know, doing all of those fucking exercises, military exercises, all these kind of things. No one ever talks about nuclear weapons, and I think Putin understands that the second he presses that button, he's dead basically, because now it's like up to the whole world community to actually kill that guy, not actually to bring him to the fucking Hague Tribunal and prosecute him in a legit way. No, now people can say like, you know, whatever, like $100 million for the head of that man. Because there are some certain limits that you do not cross ever. First of all, don't start fucking wars in the middle of Europe in 2022. That would be one. And second, don't fucking even think about using nuclear weapons. Especially when United States intelligence and UK intelligence basically is in your house, because they knew about all of your fucking movements prior to 24th of February 2022, about all of your shit that you were thinking that it's kind of a, you know, secret game that you're playing. American intelligence knew all of it. So if you're thinking that you're gonna escape basically and live your long life in fucking Argentina or something like that, as some Nazis did, tough luck. It's not gonna happen. So it's remarkable that Peterson doesn't even understand that fucking part.
To say, yeah, how I would do in his shoes. I'd wait till the first cold snap.
He said that if he was in Putin's shoes, he would wait till winter and then turn off the taps to Europe, turn off the gas, turn off the oil, things like that. The problem is, once again, we're talking. This was released September 22, 2022, September 22nd. The thing is that Putin did blow up Nord Stream by himself in attempts to intimidate Europe. It didn't fucking work, did it? Because now Europe basically switched almost completely to other sources of gas, liquefied gas from Norway, Denmark, things like that. Europe is fine right now. Even Germany, that was the big problem basically. Germany is fine right now. I think third of the energy came from Russia before basically like September, something like that. And now almost nothing comes from Russia, or zero, I think, comes from Russia. So Peterson doesn't understand even the basics of these like economical kind of things and energy resources, that countries will switch. And look what's happening now. Like not only like Europe was buying, right, the most sort of resources from Russia, but Russia was selling there, obviously. And so if you look at from the other perspective, Russia will now lose a shit ton of revenue from energy resources, which that's like the largest part of their budget, exporting gas and oil. And oil embargo even is not like in full capacity right now, but obviously they're going there, they're getting there. So Peterson doesn't understand anything. Like, he might be a good psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever the fuck he is. He might write some books and talk some fucking Christian shit. But unfortunately, he doesn't, like, he has a big presence, you know, especially in the minds of like younger male audience. But he's not as smart as he thinks he is. He even said about climate change that he doesn't believe
We'll see. We'll see. I don't think so. It doesn't.
He even said in this interview,
imagine that you would put in place measures that assuming that we're facing an environmental crisis of planetary proportions, which is not something I buy, by the way.
Which is something that he doesn't buy. Every fucking measurable statistics, every good scientist, every legitimate scientist will tell you that there is a legit fucking warming of the planet, and if nothing else, climate change, but warming of the planet due to man-made activities, due to our fucking production and burning of fossil fuels. And he's saying, in 2022, at the end of 2022, Jon Peterson was supposed to be one of the fucking smartest, brightest fucking men of our generation, saying that he doesn't buy, let me just rewind it one more time.
This is the most catastrophic issue here. assuming that we're facing an environmental crisis of planetary proportions, which is not something I buy, by the way.
He doesn't buy that we're facing a crisis of global proportions. How can you even listen to the man after this? On anything, really. Because he literally undermines just his credentials as a knowledgeable person. Because not any single fucking sane, knowledgeable person would ever say that climate change is not real, nothing to see here. Even from my own experience, I am not a fucking scientist. I don't have like a doctorate degrees or anything like that. From my own lived experience, I know that when I was growing up and up until like 17, 18 years of age, so up until the 2008, for example, we've had winters in Belarus. Almost all of them, up to like -10, -15, -20, -25 Celsius in Belarus. Now I have winter with +6, +7. 2 years we've had good winter when the whole world stopped. 2020 and 2021, when the whole world stopped polluting. We got again -20 fucking degree Celsius winter. If you're telling me this is not correlating, there is no correlation between the fucking all the shit that we're burning, all the cars, all the fucking factories, all the shit, then what is it? What is it? How can it be that literally, just as an example, in 2 years, basically the production, well, kind of at least not stopped, but slowed down. At least the travel definitely stopped. And then suddenly, we're back at cold winters. And now, 2022 to 2023 winter, the world is back normal, basically. And now I'm having a winter of +5, +7 degrees. It's like going from -1, +7. I've never had winters like that. It's January right now. What the fuck? And this guy, it's like, I don't know, does he live in Canada? Does Canada not getting any effects of that nature? I don't know, maybe it doesn't. But the whole world definitely does. Some regions get hotter, some get maybe colder, I don't know. But there is definitely a climate change. And if he doesn't feel like this is fucking catastrophic, I don't know, he must not, I don't know, watch the news, not watch the fucking all the flooding or fucking earthquakes or whatever. Like, if he doesn't get that all of these things are correlated, have some correlation at least. Maybe not direct causation, but definitely fucking strong correlation. Holy shit! But I think there is a causal relationship there. Anyway, like,
threatened.
First of all, Hitler and Stalin were very singular types.
Well, didn't Goebbels grip of terror over them?
Oh yeah, but
and in a way, that's what Putin's now doing with them.
Yeah,
they want to take his own, going the way he is.
Totalitarian states made a very straightforward case that you can't have a totalitarian state unless every single person is willing to lie about everything. All totalitarian state is actually the grip of the lie.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, well.
And what Putin...
whatever. It's like, it's not particularly interesting, this whole interview of him, and it's just like 6 minutes basically. But the fact that he doesn't even, and once again, I'm going to leave the link to the article where like it's being sort of discussed kind of in more detail, especially his sort of his comments like, none of us gave a damn about Ukraine, none of us does, none of us have ever got any damn about it, and things like that. Like, it just shows like how for some fucked up reason he's fascinated with like the Russian and like dictatorship, totalitarian states, and how he doesn't understand that we're living in, or should be living in, a lawful society, world lawful society, right? Where one country cannot just invade just because they want another country. He was propagating the same kind of garbage that basically like Russian propaganda is. He's literally like, some of those points are from like Russian fucking propaganda. Like, Ukraine is Russia's sphere of influence, Western expansions caused the war, basically. Which is garbage, of course, because Ukraine is a sovereign nation. It has nothing to do with Russia, even though if they want, they can have this sort of, they can use the same language, and there are some obviously shared experiences in the past. But for Ukraine, most of those experiences weren't that particularly good. They were okay, sort of in the last whatever. Well, before 2014, it was more or less alright. But after that, obviously, Russia is is a state that is at war with Ukraine. So what it has to do with West? Nothing really. Ukraine wants to be in NATO. Ukraine wants to be in European Union. It has nothing to do with the West. It only in the sense that the West sort of shows more potential, and the West is more appealing to normal people who value freedom, who value democracy, who value basically law, the rule of law, and who wants to live a good life. Right? In this sense, yeah, West caused the war because they're so appealing that even the country from ex-USSR wants to be in the West, not with this USSR bullshit shit. This is insane that supposedly, once again, like I'm repeating myself, supposedly, presumably, one of the brightest fucking men of our generation says this garbage, repeats the garbage shit. West is morally corrupt, Russia defends Christianity, family values. He doesn't know anything about Russia if he says that, because the amount of crimes inside of the family, like man beats his wife, the wife beats his man, all this kind of stuff is insane. Divorces are really kind of they're not prohibited, obviously, but they're societally prohibited in Russia. In Belarus, I don't know. I think maybe in Ukraine it's less than that, but in any case, even with all of that, so basically, if man beats his wife, especially if they're living in like some smaller cities in Russia, wherever, it's not socially acceptable for her to just go and divorce him, basically. So she must stay with him, and often they do. These women, they stay with their fucking husbands, abusive husbands. Things like, he doesn't know anything about it. If that's a fucking Christian value, you're a fucking bad Christian, I feel like. And then domestic violence rates, and then even what I said, that divorce is not really socially acceptable. I feel like, if I'm not mistaken, 1 in 2 still get a divorce after whatever, like 5 years or something like that. Also, just because he thinks that Russia is somehow Christian nation, they're not really. It's like if I would talk to, like, in this case, Belarusian, like my own parents, for example, they would feel that they're Christian. They would think that they would say that they're Christian. If I would ask when was the last time they went to church, or what exactly do you believe, I would find like 20 fucking contradictions, even to their own Bible, that they believe so much in their own words, which would make them basically like incapable of reaching heavens or whatever they believe in. So it's just like a lot of like this paganism, really, that, oh yeah, we believe in this just because we are afraid of it, or afraid of the repercussions if we don't believe in this. But truthfully, we believe in a lot of different fucking other shit as well. Don't kill, that's like one of the, I think, like, this is one of the things that you should be taking from the Bible, like, verbatim, basically, and like just learn it and never ever fucking do it, or never support anyone who does this. And yet, if you would ask like a lot of Russians, a lot of Belarusians, even, unfortunately, some of them do support Russia's war against Ukraine. How can you justify supporting someone who goes to another land to kill people, innocent people, who just want to live a good life without this fucking retarded Russia? How can you justify it? And yet people in their brain somehow justify it. So what's fucking Christian about that? So Jordan Peterson doesn't fucking understand anything really about this particular topic, for sure. So I'm going to leave those 2 articles. I'm going to leave the article. I'm going to leave the video so you can just take a look yourself. But yeah, basically, don't listen to this fucking person on anything besides his like primary whatever shit he published on his YouTube about cleaning your fucking flat and, I don't know, not being a lobster or whatever the fuck. Besides that, like, he's not as smart as you might imagine. And not as smart as you might imagine also the next topic of our discussion. Once again, we're starting fucking great this episode. The next one in our discussion is Elon Musk. I'm super pro-Ukraine, but relentless escalation is very risky for Ukraine and the world. Once again, not a single sane person should be saying that. Why? Because how is that risky for Ukraine and the world? Ukraine has already lost a big portion of their territory with Crimea annexation. Now they've lost quite a big part of Zaporizhia region, of the Donetsk region. Once again, they're trying to liberate, obviously, their territory. Kherson was obviously liberated not that long ago, and now we're going to talk about it with potential counteroffensive operation that will probably be incoming quite soon. With the we're going to talk about the tanks and things like that just in a second. But they will liberate Ukrainians. Obviously, will liberate more of their territory. Will free it from the fucking occupants. And how exactly is that risky for Ukraine? What is the worst thing Putin can do now? He's already obliterated fucking, and I'll show you the pictures. I feel like I've got few obliterated towns, villages, a lot of them. They're fucking striking cities all the time, every week at least, like giant sort of massive explosions, like the one in Dnipro, which we will talk about it. What's the worst that they can do? Like I said before, he's gonna use nukes? No, he's not gonna, because I feel like even Putin's generals will tell him that it will solve nothing really on the battlefield, because tactical nuclear weapon doesn't really solve anything. It's not fucking Hiroshima, Nagasaki, or anything like that anymore. Because first of all, the tactical nuclear weapons would be way smaller in their scale. They wouldn't obliterate 100,000 fucking people. And Putin is not completely out of his mind to do that. So just using nuclear will solve nothing and will bring shit ton more problems. Because then I feel like, while Jon Peterson doesn't think that, I feel like then, even though none of the fucking Western nations wants to do that, to actually send their troops and actually go to full-blown war with Russia. Nobody wants to do that, because everybody values their own citizens, their own people. And I don't feel like a lot of the people in the West actually want to go, obviously, to war, yet another war, because a lot of the people kind of feel like it's not their conflict. It's sort of like, who the fuck knows what country, whatever, in some fucking Russia region, ex-USSR region, it's their fucking shit, their problem. A lot of people are like that. But anyway, long story short, like, there will be no like extra risk for Ukraine, no extra risk for the world either, because as we've seen, Putin doesn't do anything besides Ukraine. He doesn't like fire missiles at Poland or Germany or anything like that. So yeah, because he understands, like, it's just so bad that people don't like really understand sort of the culture of like growing up in Russia, especially like if you're growing up in kind of a rougher neighborhood. And so you don't understand this concept of gopnik. Is this like fucking those guys, those people who like to fight, but almost always they pick a fight with a weaker opponent. And if by some fucking random chance they picked a wrong opponent, and that opponent beat them up, it's not that they're gonna fucking try to escalate more and more and more. They will know their place. And Putin is this gopnik. He's literally gopnik from fucking St. Petersburg. He's not some great fucking amazing charismatic leader, right? He's not fucking Hitler, for fuck's sake. Even like, this is an awful comparison. But he isn't doing some amazing speeches or anything like that. He's not like, I don't know, doing some like basically gathering like millions of people with his ideas, and he's like he's got fucking tons of speechwriters, all the fucking TV propaganda who are doing the actual job for him. He is just sitting in his fucking bunker now, scared shitless, and thinks like, what in the fuck have I done? Because I thought it would be like a fucking 3 to 10 days operation, and I will be like the fucking second time victorious, and everything will be amazing for me. And now he sits and thinks like, what should I do? And you know what's the fucking amazing thing? He doesn't want to do anything because he understands that he can just sit and wait. As long as like he has his like repressive apparatus inside of Russia, his KGBs, his fucking police, his Rosgvardia, all of those cunts, as long as he's got them, and as long as he's got some money to pay them, he's safe. So he can just sit and wait and do nothing really. And this is exactly what he's doing. And he kind of banks on the fact that something will change. Something will change in the West, like some leaders will get like re-elected, whatever, some rhetoric will change, people will get tired of supporting Ukraine. But this is exactly why you should never get tired of supporting the Ukraine. Because Russia is not like this unbeatable evil, and Putler is not this unbeatable evil that he made believe people like Elon Musk, like fucking Jon Peterson, like a lot of people in the West. He's not. He's fucking scared gopnik from fucking St. Petersburg. He's a nobody. He's a piece of shit. He's not some strong, like I'm saying, moral leader or just in general strong person. He's not. He's a scared piece of shit. No one should be scared of him. No one. Yes, he's got his whole fucking, mafia and all this fucking like I'm saying, KGB agents and all the fucking cunts who can poison people in other countries, can kill people in other countries. Yes, all of that is true. But he's not as powerful as people kind of say he is. So when Elon Musk or other like notable big people are saying about things like that, like, and 7 million people saw that this fucking shit, this is not relentless escalation. This is helping a sovereign nation to defend themselves. Ukraine doesn't fight on the territory of Russia, doesn't want to capture any territory of Russia. All Ukraine wants is to free their own territory, create basically good air defense system that no fucking rockets will penetrate that defense system anymore, and no Ukrainian citizens would die anymore. How can people like Peterson and Musk just forget about the basic, like at the most basic level? Ukrainian people want nothing to do with Russia. All they want is to cooperate with Europe, be like a good European country, travel there, trade with them, be like a decent basically addition to a European Union, or like just in general to Europe, because Russia is not Europe, even though geographically it is sort of in Europe, right? The mindset is not about Europe whatsoever. It's still this expansionism, the fucking war, imperialist fucking mindset. Unfortunately, of a lot of Russians as well, but that is because of the propaganda. Because people are fucking, a lot of them, fucking dumb and gullible. Whatever shit they've been fed through the TV for the past 20 years, that they will believe. Switch the fucking narrative, and then fucking in the next 2 years, 5 years, I can bet my fucking ass off on that you can change if you give me access basically to Russian state fucking TV, media, all of this kind of garbage, and let me run the narratives. I can turn the fucking Russian citizens into greatest European lovers and American lovers in like 5 years top. Because that's how propaganda works. If you repeat the same shit all the time, and if you ban all the other alternatives, which is right now the reality of Russia, they cannot read without going through VPNs and things like that. BBC, Deutsche Welle, freaking like Medusa, even basically they don't have access to the good information. And I'm not talking about like opposition people. I'm just talking about regular people who came from the job, press turn on TV, press number 1 on the fucking on their remote controls, and just watch whatever is there. And what is there is fucking garbage propaganda, hateful speech all the time, aimed against Ukrainians basically, and the West. If I can control that for 5 years, I'm telling you, I can fucking grow the population of like I'm saying, lovers of democracy, freedom, and everything in this fucking world, everything good in this world. So, yeah. Anyway, I went on a fucking rant. Let's continue. Let's continue because, again, apparently this episode is gonna be all about like Western people saying garbage, fucking despicable garbage. This time it is this actor Jon Bernthal, who was sharing on Powerful Jerry experience, Powerful Joe Rogan, his experience of coming to Russia. And I've actually watched this clip, which is a bit longer. And this guy, once again, like, instead of sympathizing with Ukrainians and saying that the Russian regime is atrocious and all of these kind of things, he was saying about his experience in Russia and how in the first, like, or third day, whatever, in Russia, he thought how two basically thugs were beating a woman either to death or not to death, I don't know. And then he goes on to praise, again, well, like I'm saying, I just don't know, like, if I will upload it to YouTube, I'll probably get demonetized, but whatever. So basically, he's sharing all this experience, and then he goes on to say that
It's like
the people in Russia are so open. There is no bullshit. People in subways are reading literature like Dostoevsky, whatever. I don't. By the way, I don't understand why so many people in the West are so obsessed with Dostoevsky. It's so fucking. When I was in school and I had to read that shit, it was fucking painful as, like, I don't know, as what, like, I don't fucking pulling your tooth out or something like that. It was garbage, and so many people are so obsessed with this shit. Anyway, and
Bullshit.
so basically, yeah, he's telling his story about like how he saw a fucking woman being beaten basically to death, and then he says how Russia is amazing, how fucking great it is, and how people are open and no bullshit. He doesn't understand it whatsoever, because this is, once again, a Hollywood actor comes to fucking Russia. He's got his own translator. He's always in his bubble. He's never lived in Russia. He doesn't understand really what he's talking about. There is a shit ton of bullshit. There are a lot of people who will smile into your face and talk shit behind your back. There is a lot of absolute atrocious people with absolutely brain-dead beliefs, even though they have like good positions, even then, like, they're doctors or whatever, they're maybe like accomplished engineers, things like that, and yet in their sort of hearts of hearts they hold absolutely atrocious positions, like, again, justifying the war, Russian war, aggressive Russian war, unjustified Russian war against Ukraine. And he thinks that this is good somehow. He thinks that Russia's people are so good. No, it's not true. Some people that he met might be good and open and kind and whatnot, because he was probably in like his circles of his like fucking hippie friends and actors and musicians or whatever the fuck. If he went to some remote fucking village in Russia or wherever and talk, and just like not even talk, but like see how people fucking live there. If you want to see that, go watch like Bold and Corrupt, for example. That's way better representation of what real like Russia is than watch this and listen to this fucking Hollywood celebrity. So once again, we're starting off great here because we're just trashing all these stupid fucking motherfuckers who are just saying absolute garbage nonsense, who don't understand what they're talking about. Not a single fucking clue. Yes, maybe this was his lived experience. His lived experience was shit because he made all the wrong conclusions, basically, which are quite fucking contradictory to the real Russia. So yeah, once again, don't listen to that guy either. He doesn't know on the topic of Russia, Ukraine, things like that. He doesn't fucking know what he's saying, and he's somehow fucking stupid and scared chicken, because he didn't say, at least in the clips that I've seen, I'm not gonna go and watch his whole fucking episode on Spotify, because fucking Spotify for that, for taking this thing from YouTube. He didn't, at least, not that I, like I'm saying, I haven't seen the full episode, but the clips that I've seen, he didn't condemn Russia. He didn't say that he supports fully Ukraine and Russian fucking regime should be demolished. Putin and all his mafia, all his cronies should fucking end up in jail or killed. He doesn't care. Like, he said nothing of that. So, and this is the only position I think any sane person in 2023 should have. 2022, when this was recorded, I'm presuming at the end of 2022. So yeah, okay, we're moving on. Moving on now from stupid celebrities, Western celebrities, to actual good fucking news. And the good news is that the Western countries finally agreed to give Ukraine Leopard 2 tanks. Not only that, but Abramses are also coming from United States, and that is amazing. That is simply great. Finally, it happened. United States talked sense into Germany, I'm pretty sure, and now this is on the way. Where was it? NATO will give Ukraine more than 100 tanks to actually deoccupy Crimea, which is great, absolutely great. I can't stress enough how amazing it is that finally, basically, eyes have started to move. As there is Russian saying, "Лёд тронулся." The eyes, started to move. Because that's been in the talks for the past 4 months at least. In the last month, we've heard a lot of kind of news about that, and seemingly, Russia and Germany and other countries wanted to do it long time ago. Poland, Netherlands, Finland. They wanted to basically give, and some other countries as well, they wanted to give Ukraine the tanks long time ago. Germany just didn't want this to happen. And now, apparently, like I'm saying, something has happened. And, it's great. It's amazing. This is all I can say right now, because, truthfully, this is great. And I can only, can only say good things about this. Because even though Germany has waited for a bit too long, really, to get to this decision, they've got it. They arrived at the correct decision, and so this is great. I hope this will help Ukraine, obviously, to liberate even more of their territory, liberate Crimea. Cut the supply, basically cut the supply basically through Melitopol, through this kind of area, at next to the Azov Sea, that is right now controlled basically by Russia. Mariupol, Melitopol, Berdyansk, all this region is controlled right now still by Russia, obviously. But if Ukraine will get more heavy vehicles, I think it's going to be great. I think Ukraine will be able to, hopefully in the next 3-6 months, liberate most of, if not all, of their territory. And that would be fucking insanely amazing. So really great that Germany is on the right side of the history, finally. Okay. Quick news. The commander of Ukrainian armed forces, VSU or Ukrainian armed forces, Valery Zaluzhny, has got apparently $1 million of inheritance money, interestingly, from some United States citizen, Grigory Stepanets, in October 2022. And apparently Zaluzhny just donated all this money for ZSU, for his armed forces, which is obviously, this just shows how amazing this guy is. I kid you not, about this man, about Valery Zaluzhny, there will be books written, there will be movies made once this war is over. Because he's shown so much proficiency, so much diligence, and so much courage, and so much just dedication to his country, that fucking 1,000 of Russian pieces of shit in similar positions will never in a million years show. The man is fucking legend. Okay, it was just a quick news. Just got him. somebody then basically donated him, in a way, $1 million. He instantly transferred it to his military, to his army. What more can you say? Like I'm saying, the man is a fucking legend. Okay. Now then, few months ago, there were like news that somebody sent like bombs or some other like dangerous things to various embassies, including the embassy of Ukraine in Spain. And apparently it was 74 years old former governmental employee who has apparently some pro-Russian views. Wow, how shocked we are all. And I think on Twitter I've seen that apparently oh no, it was about other stuff. Never mind. But yeah, basically with some pro-Russian views. How, once again, I don't understand how can somebody living in Spain in 2022 has pro-Russian views. Like, how much do you need to fuck your own brain to get to that position? I don't know, but there's that. I guess he will spend some time in jail now, hopefully. A lot of time, probably till the rest of his fucking days, because if you are that fucking brain dead at your 74, you're not gonna get wiser in the next couple of years, so just spend that fucking time in jail, read some good books. Okay, just a quick news. Russian peace, Ruski Mir, as they call it, or Russian world peace, because peace is can mean both, basically, world and peace. Severodonetsk, obliterated streets, obliterated buildings, and death. This is what Russia brings, and this is what Jon Peterson he said that basically so Russia's loss will be like destroying Ukraine completely. Well, by that kind of a logic, it would be a Russian win. So we can't really win against Russia. First of all, who are we? He thinks that West is at war with Russia, which is just insane. Because Ukraine defends their own land. It's not the fucking Western war with Russia. But somehow a lot of people, like Elon Musk, like Jon Peterson, like Kim.com, like some other fucking cunts on Twitter with big profiles, with like hundreds and thousands or even millions of subscribers, don't understand that, don't realize it, think the whole world fucking turns around them somehow. But yeah, this is how it looks, right? And I wanted to actually talk about the one more, obviously, absolutely tragic event, both tragic and atrocious at the same time, and that was obviously the bombardment, well, one rocket with massive explosion in Dnipro, right, on 14th of January, which I don't think I've talked about in a previous recording. This is Russia, and Jon Peterson, I don't think he's seen this kind of videos or photos. How does that look like? Does that look like you need to capitulate to Russia? Does this look like you need to give them your territory and allow basically for basically allow them to rule on your territory and do whatever the fuck they want to people who are on those territories, who are Ukrainian citizens? Is that like a great solution to Russian problem? Really? Does this look like a fucking, I don't know, like Nazi headquarters or something like that, as Russian propaganda would want you to believe? Or does this look like a fucking regular apartment building that if I go and look outside of the window, will see basically exactly the same building. Does this look like a fucking evil, like I'm saying, Nazi or whatever, or does this look like just regular people who were trying to live their lives? I feel like the question is kind of rhetorical, basically. Do all those people who criticize Ukraine and the West for supporting Ukraine and Ukraine for trying to fight for their own freedom, for their own lives, quite literally, do they watch at these photos? And if they do, what do they see? What do they see? Do they think this house obliterated itself by itself? No. No. It's done by Russia. And no one should ever forget it, really. No one should ever forget it. More than 40 people dead. I think like 20 or something injured. 70 injured. 20 dead and 40 unknown, which means that they're also dead. It's just they haven't been found yet. Does this look like a fucking amazing sort of deal that you should like struck with Russia somehow? So they could continue doing these things in other regions as well? Or maybe, just maybe, this is one like chance in 100 years to actually make sure that Russia crumbles once and for all, breaks apart into whatever 20 different republics. Something that should have happened back when USSR was collapsing. And then, at that time, the West helped Russia to basically stay as a whole coherent union, instead of splitting into, like I'm saying, like Ichkeria, Chechen basically republic, and millions of other, not millions, but, dozens of other republics. Hopefully this time around, hopefully this war, this time, if Second World War didn't do it, if Cold War didn't do it, maybe this war will finally do it to Russia. Something that should have been happened decades ago. Decades ago. How is that for Russian world, Russian peace? And then you're talking to важные story, important stories, actually found those people who, like, Ukrainian, basically defense, what is it? Security service, said that they've basically identified people who most likely were responsible for this basically for firing these rockets, right? Rocket, I think it was one. So let's talk about these morons before we talk about the victims of these morons. 51 years old, 35 years old, said that when was contacted by stories, important stories, that he doesn't know what happened then in Dnipro, that he's been out of army for 3 years and he doesn't know anything, which I would call fucking bullshit on that, most likely. Then another cunt, this one, atrocious piece of shit, absolutely despicable. I mean, it is written on his face that he is a despicable piece of shit, but 44 years old, saying like, who's Crimea? I think Crimea is always Russia, and blah blah blah, about when the journalist was asking, so like, do you know anything about the Dnipro? I wanted to ask you about that, and he said, like, why are you asking that? Like, Russian journalists don't ask these questions. Journalists just in general don't ask questions. Can you imagine how brain dead this cunt is, that he doesn't understand what journalists do and what real journalists do? and then he basically switched his mode to become very defensive and aggressive, and that switched from, because in Russian language there are two versions how to say you. It is polite version of you. German language has that as well, which is вы, and ты, which is like a basically when you know a person already, or when you disrespect a person who you don't know, you would say ты. And so when he started basically with polite stuff, when journalists kind of pressed him on the issue, he said that Crimea is ours, everything is ours. Ukraine is not even a fucking country, it's a region and will be region in Russia, not even like, it's not even going to be divided into regions that Ukraine obviously right now has various regions, right? It's going to be just one region. This is all like written right here. Obviously, I'm just translating it to English basically, and then he basically, what do you want from me, you, in like this disrespectful you, and then basically hang up. So I just want you to see the faces of these pieces of shit, and if you're just listening this on YouTube, there's going to be full version of it. And 37 years old piece of shit. I don't want to even pronounce the name. I just want to for their faces to be in YouTube video. 41, things like that, and a couple of them didn't decided to basically didn't even pick up the phone and whatnot. So these are the pieces of shit who most likely are responsible for that. And these are real people who died. Irina Maxim Shevchuky died under this rocket, basically. Mikhail Karinovsky died, and apparently he's like famous, like Yellow Kitchen. And Irina Solomatenko, Olga Usova, two friends, which once again the photos of their were like circulating on the media. Maxim Bogutsky, just a kid, 17 years old. Maria Lebedь, 15 years old, just a kid. Alexander Tatiana Gavrilyuki, parents of a kid, 4 years old kid who stayed alive because she was at her grandparents, but the parents died, so the kid will be orphan right now. Елена Журавская, Alexei, this one, Zelensky, Nikita as well, I think they don't have a photo of it, died. Ekaterina Zelenskaya on the left survived. Mother survived, and Anna Pavlovskaya, mother of two. Maxim on the photo on the right. Natalia Shvets, dead. Anastasia Shvets, she survived. 23 years old. In September, the girl lost her loved one in the war, and now she lost her parents. So just imagine how devastating it is. This is what like a lot of news, like they don't concentrate on those who died or who survived, on real people. A lot of the time it's just like talking about just stories as if it's just like as if it's something not real, as if it's just some another reality TV show of some sort. When in reality these are the people. Semya Niskevich, who apparently survived. All three survived. Luckily. Mother of VSU fighter, Emelianenko, they don't say the name of the mother, survived as well, luckily. Семья Воловых, no photo, but apparently also survived. But like I've said, there are still like 40 people under the rubbles, which means that they're dead, most likely. 40 people dead right now, 75 injured, and 30 still unknown, you know. And this is just one rocket. This is just one thing. It's just like it is so big that the rocket itself so big with such a heavy payload that it destroyed. Just you've seen the photos. Just how much, how big of a portion of the building it destroyed, and so it killed so many people at once. That this is like got so much attention, you know, international attention and just in general attention in the media. But things like that happen every fucking day. And every day that Germany was like fucking around and not sending tanks and heavy equipment to Ukraine, or not even Germany in general, but this time it's about Germany, but the West in general, because they believed that, you know, it will be the same story as with whatever. Afghanistan, I guess, or something like that. Where was it? Was it? Yeah, US withdrew from Afghanistan. It was immediately captured by all those fucking terrorists from Taliban or whatever. And now life there is hell for women, especially. For women, for girls, which is also another topic for another discussion, which I want to do obviously later, but yeah. But yeah, like people are dying in Ukraine en masse right now. Across the whole Ukraine because of all the artillery strikes, missile strikes from Russia and all of that kind of stuff. And this has to end. This has to end with defeat and complete, this time around, total collapse of Russia. With Ukraine having advanced like air defense system, very modern, so it can, you know, capture basically all the incoming missiles, ballistic, not ballistic, Mach speeds, doesn't fucking matter. They should have it. Because this should never fucking happen again. Never. Because this is just an act of terrorism. It is what it is. It is just an act of terrorism. Because this is what Russia does. They're using their terrorist tactics to try to submit Ukraine into surrendering. Which will never happen. Not after this. Not after so many lives have been lost, so much damage have been done, so many lives have been just tortured, completely torn apart, you know. Ukraine will never surrender. Even if Russia will destroy all of their cities into like turn them into rubble, they will never surrender. Not now. Not after all of that they've been through. And it's despicable and fucking vile to and just like disgusting when I hear some Westerners, especially when it's like big profiles. I don't care if some fucking dumb motherfucker from wherever, middle of nowhere, says, but when it's like big figures who have like thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of followers, when they speak against support, against Western support of Ukraine, when they try to imagine that they should concede and give Russia wherever they want, Putler wherever they want, and his KGB mafia, like it's so despicable. I don't even know how to react to this. Anyway, okay, let's go to another episode, not another topic. Because this is, it's really fucking sad. I'm gonna include the article about, well, both of this, I think, about these pieces of shit, because I think the world should know them, and obviously about innocent people who died, because this is even more important. That people know that it's not some fictitious whatever garbage Russia imagines who they're, you know, fighting against. No, these are just normal people like you and I, and who just want to live their life and fucking who didn't even fucking have a chance to live their life, 17, 15, and who knows how many of those kids are still like unfound, basically 30 people. Okay. Okay, a few little things that are happening in Ukraine right now. Zelensky signed a law of basically strictening, is this a word, of responsibility of those who serve, servicemen. Basically, like a lot of sort of people, I don't know really about this much. I just saw it like today, basically in the news. Because apparently it gives sort of the court and the judges a bit more power, which to me is like never that good. Basically, basically courts are not able to give like lesser sentences to the servicemen who are convicted for basically not following the commander's commands, right? For basically violence or threats of violence towards the commanders, for deserting the battlefield or whatever, and there will be like higher sort of administrative punishments, like fines, for example, for like drinking some alcohol. I cannot really say much about this. Maybe I can't say really about it because I don't know, like I don't know why they needed to do this. Maybe like the morale in Ukrainian army is getting lower a bit. Maybe they're just tired and things like that, right? I'm not sure really why they needed to do this. But they've done it. The other one is also that mass layoffs, basically, of high like profile bureaucrats, basically, in the office of Zelensky. Apparently, a lot of it is sort of, or could be at least, linked with some corruption. There was investigation of Zerkalo Nedeli, the weekly mirror of the week, something like that, about presumably that Vyacheslav Shapovalov was presumably buying some food provisions for higher prices than it should be, and probably like profiteering, pocketing some money. Not sure really. I haven't read that investigation, but that's basically sort of the gist of it. And basically many basically of those firings came after some investigations and some sort of corruption, some links to corruption in one way or another. Either they like signed off like a basically sign off basically some kind of a papers, basically, for certain people to be able to get out of the country, or like I'm saying, they were responsible for supplies and they bought things for higher prices than they should have. In general, things like that, right? And corruption was always basically big in Ukraine. I think it's not particularly a secret. I mean, Russia was always way more corrupt, but Ukraine wasn't that far off. The good thing that happened or didn't happen in Ukraine is that it never, like the corruption was never basically working for one person or for one like mafia clan like it is in Russia, right? Where there is Putin, there are like his like best buddies wherever. He controls everything, and he controls the KGB and all this fucking shit. And so in Ukraine, it wasn't like that because there was never like one power, in the government, right? It was always like some various clans kind of fighting each other, and so it was corruption, yes, but it never materialized into dictatorship, into a totalitarian state like in Belarus and like in Russia. So they were lucky about it. But obviously the corruption is a tax, is another tax basically on efficiency of things done, of how much it costs obviously to get things done, all this things. It's really bad for society, corruption. So even though I haven't read all of these investigations, I'm glad that Zelensky is doing this, because the more you kind of reshuffle people, the more you kind of give opportunities to maybe other people, and just in general, like show at least the world that you will not tolerate. Like this is time to change now, and tolerating the corruption and tolerating the nepotism and things like that is not right now. It's not time for this, basically. And in general, it should kind of end with this president, with this, powers. So yeah, hopefully it will help Ukraine once again, like I'm saying, to lead towards more like democratic Europe. And I know that obviously in Europe there's still a lot of corruption, especially like in France and Italy, for example, right? A lot of ties like with Russians, fucking shit like that. We look from Berlusconi and Marine Le Pen and so on and so forth, right? I understand all of that. And in London, obviously, in UK, there's a lot of like Russian fucking mafia basically cleaning their money, things like that, right? I get all of that. And yet, still, like, you should strive, obviously, towards something better, like, all the time, despite the setbacks, right? So, yeah. Just wanted to kind of talk quickly a little bit about that. Okay. Good article from The Insider. Once again, this one is available in English. Grand Cru for Putin's daughter: how Kremlin bypasses sanctions to buy luxury wine. But it's not only about wine. Just a little bit more. Just I wanted to just name a few prices here. Basically, they're buying apparently important steel. Russia is importing. In November and December of 2022 alone, right, in 2 months, the company Wine Search, the company of Rachkos, whatever, you can read the article. It's basically like a friend of Putin's daughter. They've imported wine alone for 4 million euros. 4 million euros would be enough to install warm toilets in 300 Russian schools. Just so you like realize, right? At least 300 Russian schools don't have warm toilets. And actually oh yeah, so this was just in the 2 months, right? And if the estimations is kind of the same or similar for the whole year, it would have been enough. This money alone would be enough to install at least warm toilets for 2,000 Russian schools where there are still no heated toilets. There are 2,000 Russian schools where there is no heated toilet. When Jordan Peterson or some fucking Jon Bernthal are talking about great Russia, great people, whatnot, right? At least 2,000 Russian schools, and in reality probably there's even higher number, have no heated toilet. And Russia is obviously the country, certain regions that routinely get like -5, -10, whatever, -20. The prices for the wines that they've imported: 54,000 euros, 54, 70, 47, 41, 35, 30, 27 per one bottle of wine. One bottle of wine costs the same amount of money as basically like a decent flat in actually quite a lot of places in the world. I bet for like $60,000 you could probably buy yourself even some small house or wherever, somewhere in United States as well. Yes, not obviously in giant metropolitan areas, but in some areas I'm pretty sure, and a lot of places probably like in Europe you can do it. You can definitely buy yourself a whole flat or maybe even a house in a lot of places in Belarus and Russia as well for those prices. And all of this is, once again, friend of Putin's daughter just doing fucking business. Same shit is happening with actually like pharma, because there's like basically monopoly cartels that are created right now, once again with the help of like Putin and his like family basically. So I suggest you to read this article. It's all in English. So it's a good one, good read. Okay, let's move on to the next one. I'm just saying, like, just people just don't understand the level of corruption and just like how much this regime, this man in particular, just don't care about regular people at all. And this is the exact reason. Like, you shouldn't be scared of this person. This person does not want to die. The West just doesn't understand this. This person doesn't want to die. If you want to die, you wouldn't build yourself like a fucking $1 billion mansion, or how, whatever, 700 million. Dvorets Putin, right? Like the palace of Putin's palace, right? Navalny made a giant investigative movie about it. Go watch it as well, by the way. It's an amazing fucking watch. With subtitles, but nonetheless. This man doesn't want to die. He grew up from nowhere. He saw the opportunity. He seized his opportunity, and all he wants to do is stay in power. He got delusional, like he himself predicted. If somebody stays like more than two terms, you can go mad or whatever. He said that in like 2002 or whatever the fuck. There are interviews in the interview. You can search it on YouTube. There are videos of him saying basically that, and he indeed went mad and started wars and all that kind of shit, right? But he doesn't want to die, so he's not like suicidal. So yeah, don't be afraid of him. Send Ukraine all the help they needed, and when the time comes, make sure that the Russia falls apart in many other small regions. Don't let Russia to stay this giant Russia. You can deal with all your nuclear fucking weaponry threats and all of that kind of shit. When Russia will be falling apart, make a deal that Russia gives up all the nuclear, besides I guess like for nuclear power plants and whatnot, and in return, all these regions will get some help, whatever. Do that kind of a deal. Russia should not be staying as big Russia right now. I want to see it collapses. I want to see in my lifetime, in the next couple of years, for its collapse. Okay. Also interesting news about coal industry in Russia. Right now, coal industry is getting through some real tough shit because obviously of some export bans and stuff like that. And there was like an interesting, and unfortunately this article is not in English yet. If it will be in English, I will add it. Unfortunately, like I couldn't find it in English yet, but once again, like I'm saying, basically it's interesting because at near the collapse of USSR in 1989 in Vorkuta, bus, people started to mass protest in coal industry. Started mass protests, and it basically those protests didn't stop until the collapse of Soviet Union, really. And it's interesting that right now, a little bit of that, like signs of it, basically, well, signs of it are there right now. Things are not going good at all. Salaries will get way lower, or people will get dropped. And obviously, if you're living in a small town, somewhere, who the fuck knows where in Russia, like a coal town, right? Like I think a lot of like Americans could relate to this. Like if you've been born in a small coal town, in a mining town, and this is like the only factory basically there that provides a shit ton of like jobs and whatnot, and you grew up there, you realize like what kind of a devastation can it bring to that town, but more specifically to people, when that factory then needs to, like I'm saying, lay off people or cut the salaries. It's devastation, right? There's a great movie, October Sky, with Jake Gyllenhaal, fucking amazing movie, with similar premise about, well, not a similar premise, but the premise of where the guy grew up is that small mining town, and fucking amazing movie. Go watch it. But yeah, basically what I'm saying is that it can happen again in Russia, and I don't know what they're gonna do about it. I mean, now they have a lot of, like I'm saying, Rosgvardia and police and all this shit. Can they beat everyone into submission? I don't know. I don't think so. Because those hard-working people, miners, oil fucking drillers, all that kind of stuff, they can be ruthless and they can be very tough. So we'll see how this whole thing basically will basically transpire in the future. But the fact that there are signs, and there've been a lot of signs already, basically, about the coal industry going to shit in Russia, thanks to the war, and obviously thanks to the sanctions and things like that. And so, yeah, interesting to see, basically, what will happen next. But yeah, just wanted to say that there are certain, basically, there's certain regions of economy in Russia, like car industry, for example, right? This coal industry is another one, IT industry, things like that, which are crumbling hard and fast. And not a lot of people kind of realize it, but the consequences will be quite devastating, especially when all of those things start to overlap one onto another, and the sort of mass protests will start to actually arise across the whole country, right? Because it's one thing if like somebody in whatever Moscow protests or fucking St. Petersburg, right, where there's a lot of, like I'm saying, police, Rosgvardia and whatnot, which could be, all of those protesters could be beaten into submission and things like that, right? And it's another when across the whole Russia, in this town, in this region, people start to feel that they've been fed some shit, if we're being like really honest. But yeah. Okay, we'll see obviously what's gonna happen. So if I'll find this article in English, I'll put it into the description. Or maybe I'll just put it into the description anyway, and maybe Google Translate will do something. Probably not. We'll see. Okay, I feel like we probably should end not here, but intelligence services of the United States said that Putin lost basically all his army he assembled before 24th of February, and which is already quite telling. They've obviously went through one wave of mobilization, and all of the people basically, or not all of the people, but a lot of the people basically predicted the second wave somewhere in January. This didn't happen, but it can still happen, obviously, soon. The law that Putin signed at when it was, like September, I think, something. I forgot the exact date. The law about the mobilization. That law never ended. He never signed another law to stop it or whatever. So mobilization is still ongoing technically in Russia. So I guess next wave incoming in the next whatever month. Maybe they will do it for the anniversary of the war. It's so even insane that next month there will be anniversary of the war, 1 year of the war. That is so insane to even think. Crazy. Anyway, then the government of Russia tries to basically plug a hole in their budget, because there is a hole in the budget, quite a fucking giant one. They are taking quite a lot of, or making quite a lot of fines for 600 billion Russian rubles, which is basically like $10 billion or something like that. From that basically like IRS kind of a thing, right? Took from all sorts of little businesses, factories, whatnot, across the whole country, enterprises, from January to September. It's basically like almost 2 times as much, as more than 2 times, 120%, so more than 2 times than in 2021. So yeah. in some regions, like fines, business fines, went up hundreds of percent. In Tambovsk Oblast, Tambovsk region, 740% compared to the prior year. Tatarstan, almost 500%. Sverdlovsky region, Sverdlovsky Oblast, 460%. Samarska, 320%. St. Petersburg, 300%. You can kind of imagine, obviously, what it does to the atmosphere of entrepreneurship. And this is something that Belarus and its dictator has been doing consistently in the past 15 years, just killing off smaller businesses, especially like solo entrepreneurs and smaller companies, with just a shit ton of taxes, especially shit ton of not even taxes. Some taxes are actually alright, but uncertainty in terms of everything can change tomorrow. You're never protected against the government, basically, because the court system is non-existent. It's the same in Belarus as it is in Russia, basically. You'll never win a case against the government, basically. And then just the amount of little bullshit kind of laws. I bet the bullshit laws exist in every country, but the amount of bullshit laws in Belarus, I can speak for Belarus only, because I know in Russia it's the same, but my own experiences in Belarus. The amount of bullshit laws, which basically means like in a restaurant, for example, right? You can find, if you're an inspector, you can find 20 different little 20 different little sort of, not errors, but what's the word I'm searching for? Oh, my brain. See, this is where I should cut off the stream and this episode, because my brain starts to already fry a little bit. Oh my god. Violation. I was searching the word violation. I'm so dumb. If you're an inspector and if you arrive into some business, you can find 20 fucking violations of some codes, some obscure shit in I don't know, span of 10 minutes or whatever. And thus this kind of props up corruption, obviously. So either you're gonna go and basically remove all of those violations, you fix them all, or you just pay to the fucking inspector, which means that you still the next day some other inspector comes, you need to pay that cunt as well. Or I'm saying, if their actual sort of, in this case with Russia, right, here, if they want to fine you, so you can't even prop up the corruption, because you can't just pay this guy for just okay, disappear, please. They're gonna fine you, and they're going to extract even more money from you like that. So going back to my point, circling back, what kind of the atmosphere it creates for entrepreneurs, for businesses, small businesses and things like that? Well, shitty, obviously, shitty one. It's been really hard to make business in Russia, in those countries, Belarus, all the time, really. And now it's getting even harder, and thus a lot of people are just choosing fuck that. And why I said this about Belarus is because in the past like 15 years, like I'm saying, that there was like a deliberate push to push people out of their businesses, force them to either pay too much taxes or create basically every obstacle that you can for them doing businesses and being free, basically, to put them into submission of giving up their businesses, giving up their entrepreneurships, and either immigrate out of the country completely if they have some money, or go and work at governmental factories where you are totally controlled. If you go to some protests, if you're like spotted at some protests, you can be fired. So obviously this is like another piece of control. How they do it to you is that, like I just said, you even think, oh, what am I doing? Like, will I not get caught? Will I, sort of, you yourself keep yourself in check, in line with the governmental, party message, whatever shit, And it's all real, basically. I'm not imagining anything. Like, I think I've spoken about this, like in one of the previous episodes, that I actually know people who got fired from their jobs from the governmental factories because, like, in the year 2021 or 2020, they've got spotted, not even at the protests, but like got kind of swept into all of the fucking motions, whatever happened there. So they weren't even at the protest, just got into police basically detention for a couple hours, and that a year later have resulted basically in firing them, being out of job. And in a smaller town in Belarus, there aren't that many places where you can find new job, which aren't governmental, because governmental jobs tend to pay more than, usually at least, more than the private sort of companies. Okay, anyway, let's finish it up with what? With the fact that Russia wants to open 25 penal colonies in Ukraine, and it's the Premier Minister of Russia, Mikhail Mishustin, basically said that in the next 3 months they should do it, blah blah blah. I've seen this news on Twitter, and the only thing I said there is like, how about Moscow region will open one giant penal colony in general, right? Because they will need it. Because all of the fucking Putler and all of his mafia, all of his KGB fucking pieces of shit cunts, all of his so-called friends who are just fucking robbing the Russia of its natural resources and money and all this kind of shit, make one big colony in Moscow and then put all of those cunts there, or at least like prepare for it, prepare for Hague Tribunal, and all of the things that will follow that. That would be great. That would be actually great, instead of doing whatever the fuck they're doing here. And so the last news is USA finally disabled SWIFT for Gazprombank, a third biggest bank in Russia. And apparently it was the they didn't turn off the SWIFT. They turned off the access to dollar exchange, basically, transactions. Somehow Gazprombank, once again third biggest bank in Russia, the biggest one, still one of the biggest governmental banks, it still has access to SWIFT. I guess it was for to allow the payments for gas and oil. I just don't understand, like, why do you need it now? I guess there's still some, because Nord Stream doesn't work. I guess there's still some gas coming from Russia through Ukraine to probably like Bulgaria or something. So probably they need SWIFT for that. But yeah, apparently, I don't. Yeah, I don't know really like how that how that actually like affects anything. It's kind of remarkable, like I'm saying, that Gazprombank still is in SWIFT, and that they've been dealing with dollars still up until not this point. I mean, once again, it's not because Europe has been sitting on a fucking needle, or the gas and oil needle of Russia for 20 past years. So it's kind of, I understand that. In any case, apparently JP Morgan Chase, Bank of New York, Mellon, closed the corresponding how's it called? Correspondent accounts, I think, right? In banking it's called. Anyway, okay, maybe I'll cut this out. Okay, I feel like it's enough for today. I feel like we've talked about a lot of things. The biggest good news today is that NATO finally gives Ukraine tanks, or will give soon. This is the biggest news of not only the day, but like past several days. The biggest, the best news. And so, yeah, let's just hope that they will do it swiftly, and that Ukraine, thanks to this like heavy and really modern equipment, will be able to free their territory quick enough, and then also let's hope, yeah, because this is really important. I feel like really let's hope that Germany, whatever, all the NATO countries, right, give Ukraine great air defense systems, so they could actually build like proper air defensive system across the whole sort of whole border basically with Russia, because Ukraine quite a big country, and there's quite a lot of border with Belarus, with Russia, and so it would be great if they could actually close their sky from Russia, from Russian missiles, from planes, from fighter jets, from all that kind of shit. Let's just fingers crossed. Let's hope it's gonna happen, because these things are happening in those like little waves, right? Like with the West and their support of Ukraine. Oh, we're not gonna give you that, but then okay, we will give you a little bit of that. Okay, you actually know how to use it. Okay, let's give you a little bit more of that. Okay, you know how to use it. Okay, everything's fine. Okay, let's give you, M777, right? Like those what's it called? Like artillery mortars, I think, whatever it's called. And then okay, you know how to use that. Okay, let's give you HIMARS. Okay, you are very good and efficient with that. Okay, great. Next what? Okay, tanks. Okay, great. When the tanks are good, okay, maybe planes. Okay, like I'm saying, the air defense systems. Okay, just give everything to Ukraine that they need. Holy shit, they've proven themselves already. Fucking hell, how much more proof do you need that, first of all, Putler will not fucking escalate in terms of like nuclear or whatever garbage, just because you actually like gave something to Ukraine? It's not gonna happen. I think everybody needs to understand that already. And then, yeah, Ukraine can operate with the things that they've got, whatever you give them, because they're very capable, they're smart, they're more than anything, they're motivated. So bank on that. Let Ukraine free their own territory, help them to beat Russia, and then make sure that Russia collapses, please, into dozens of fucking republics. There should be no Russia in its current form in 2 years. And then international tribunal for all the war criminals, starting from Putin, all his fucking, like I'm saying, mafia. Not forgetting all the propagandists from state media, all of them should be there as well. And then obviously all those atrocious people who actually committed war crimes on the battlefields, on, like, raped, killed innocent people, made those massacres in Bucha, in Izium, in Mariupol, all those cunts who were calculating trajectories of rockets, who were launching rockets and missiles to the territory of Ukraine. All of those cunts, please, international tribunal for all of them. That's what I'm saying. You need a one big, really big fucking colony in Moscow, please. All right. Enough for today. That's been Critical Discussions, episode 18. Criticaldiscussions.net with all the links. If you can, I would really appreciate if you chip in. Make some little donation, because like I've said, I'm in Belarus, shitty fucking place. Do not recommend at all. I want to get out of here, and so yeah, any little bits of cash really helps. And if you can, make a bit of a donation to support the independent analysis of a person who might not know a lot, but who definitely knows more about this region, about this whole fucking shit, than Jon Petersons and Elon Musks of the world. That's for sure. So yeah, okay, follow for more, subscribe, all this good stuff, share the content, share the longer video, share the clips, share it with, family, friends, whoever is interested in this, or especially share it with some people who don't understand the fucking sweet fuck all about this, and listen to some stupid people. Okay, see you the next time, in the next video, and take care. Comment, by the way, it also helps, the algorithms and things like that. And take care of yourselves. Bye.